Hello, second graders. Today, for our second part of our reading lesson, we are going to learn our big idea for the week, and we're going to read our new story. So if you need to pause the video and go get your Wonders Unit 3 book, that should be in your binder or that you should have at home near your assignments or work, please go do that. I'm going to close out of this window and then we're going to get started. Our big idea is, how do the earth forces affect us?
The earth affects us. Down, down, down you go. Gravity is the force that pulls you down the slide. Here are some other ways you can see the force of gravity at work. A ball rolling and picking up speed. A child jumping. Talk about it. Talk with a partner about ways you can see gravity at work. Then write your ideas on the web.
So I want you to, right now, think about 10 things that gravity pulls down. So for example, a ball. When I throw the ball up, the gravity pulls it down. Or a pencil. If I drop a pencil off my desk, that will fall to the ground. Or if I throw a pillow on my bed, the gravity will pull the pillow to the floor or to my bed. So name right now in your head or out loud 10 things that gravity can pull down. Okay, we did our vocabulary words in the lesson before. So now we are going to start our reading for this week. It's called Magnets Work. Our inquiry question that I want you to be thinking about as we read this is, how do inventions affect our lives? All right, make sure you're following along as this is reading it out loud to you. Start up here on the word did, put your finger on it, and follow along as it reads it.
Did you know magnets are all around you? Magnets help you do amazing things. Keep reading. See if you think magnets have surprising uses. Magnets pull. Look closely and you will see. Magnets can be found on a can opener. The magnet attracts or pulls the lid off of a soup can. A push or pull is called a force. There is also a magnet in a refrigerator. It pulls the metal in the door to make a tight seal. Do you know how?
So if you can look closely here, or think about at your house, you can find magnets in a lot of places. One example was in your can opener has a magnet, or even your refrigerator door has a magnet. When you shut the door, the magnet closes it so that it's tight. If you didn't have that magnet, your refrigerator door wouldn't close tight. So magnets attract, and that push or pull in science is called a force. So today we're kind of learning a little bit about science too. So that push and pull is called a force. All right, I would like you to turn the page to 184 and follow along up at the top of 184.
A magnet's force pulls objects made of metals called iron and steel. It will not pull other things. It will not pull a wooden pencil or a plastic toy. A magnet does not attract all items.
So I'm going to pause and check your understanding. So I want you to think, what are the items that a magnet does not attract? So if you said like a wooden pencil or a plastic tray or a plastic toy, you would be correct. So metals like iron or steel are magnetic. So they attract things where some items are not magnetic. Let's go down and learn about the poles and how magnets have poles. So think about like the North Pole where Santa lives and the South Pole. Those are kind of different poles. Okay, but they're also similar because they're opposites. Okay.
Magnets have poles. You have proved or shown that magnets can pull some things to it. Why is this true? The two ends of a magnet are its poles. Every magnet has a north pole and a south pole. Unlike poles, attract each other.
Okay, so there's always a North Pole and a South Pole, and they're attracted. So think of the North Pole at the top of the globe and the South Pole at the bottom of the globe. They are opposite, but they're also attractive. So if you get these two together, they will attract. Now, what if you have poles that are like? So let's look over on page 185 and see what happens if you have like two North Poles or two South Poles. What would happen? Start here with the word have.
Have you ever played with trains that have magnets? Sometimes you try to put two train cars together, but they repel. This means they push away from each other. Then you turn one of the cars around. The two cars snap together as quick as a wink. That's right. If you have played with these trains, you know it is true. When the train cars push away, two of the same poles are facing each other. However, if you put the north and south poles together, they will snap together like the train. Like poles repel each other.
So on this page, we learn that if you have two poles that are alike or the same, they will repel each other. And which repel means they will push away. So they don't like each other. So they'll push each other away. So like on this good example of a train track or a train, if you have these two ends that are the same, they will just push those trains away, the train cars away. Okay, let's turn the page to 186 and let's learn how magnets can be powerful. So we're going to start at the top of 186 and start with the word we.
Magnets can be powerful. We know that magnets can move objects, but does the heaviness of an object matter? Can magnets move objects that have different weights? Yes, they can. Scientists are using magnets in new ways. People often wish they could travel at a faster speed than a train. The magnets on this train make it float over the track.
Okay, so we know that magnets move objects that have different weights. So they can do that. They can be very powerful. And they said that scientists are using magnets in new ways. And one way is people often wish they could travel at faster speeds than a train. So if you look at this train right here has magnets on the bottom that allow it to float over the track. Isn't that really cool? Okay, on to page 187. This is our last page. Let's start at the top up here on the word there.
There is a new train that uses powerful magnets to travel more quickly. Magnets lift the train above the track and push the train forward. The train appears to be moving as fast as lightning. Scientists have measured these train speeds. They are much faster than the trains we know. Can you imagine what magnets will help us do in the future?
Okay, so these are some examples in this book on how magnets has helped us in our daily lives. So right now, I want you to make the connection and I want you to listen to these couple questions.
Make connections. What are two ways we use magnets? Tell about a time when you have used a magnet to push or pull something.
So right now, I want you to think, what are two ways we use magnets? So I know that Mrs. Murphy uses magnets to hold up my papers on my refrigerator at home, but I also use them at school on my whiteboard. You guys know that Mrs. Murphy's whiteboard is magnetic, and so my papers will go up on my whiteboard if the magnets are there to help keep it in place. I also have on my Clever Touch a magnetic pen. You guys love my magnetic pen, and that pen will stick to the back of my Clever Touch because there's magnets in it. Because you guys know that Mrs. Murphy sometimes will lose that pen, but if it's sticking to or touching something that's metal, it will attract and it will stay there. Also, Mrs. Murphy uses magnets on an eraser. Remember how I have an eraser in my door that keeps my door open in case, because it's always locked. So if I put that magnetic eraser in my door frame, it keeps my door from shutting and locking second graders or other people out. So right there, Mrs. Murphy thought about 5 or 6 different ways that I use magnets every day. So I want you to think about what are 2 ways you use magnets, or maybe your mom and dad. And then think about a time when you have used a magnet to push or pull something. So think about, have you ever had a magnet to get something? I know one time I lost a paper clip that was down in the vent at school, and I had to use a magnet to try to attract that paper clip and pull it out because my fingers couldn't get it, and I couldn't reach anything else down there to get it. So I thought, well, what if I use a magnet? And that worked. So maybe you haven't had the chance to use a magnet to push or pull something, but that was one example where Mrs. Murphy needed a magnet to help me solve that problem. Hope you enjoyed our story today on how magnets work and how they're used in everyday life and how they help make our lives simpler and easier.